Time. We think about it constantly, right? We're always racing against it, trying to save it, wishing we had more of it. But have you ever really stopped to ask, what is it? Well, today, we're going to dive deep into that question, and we'll be looking at it from two totally different angles, modern physics and ancient philosophy. So let's get right to the heart of it. Is time like a constant, universal river just flowing at the same speed for everybody, everywhere? Or is it something more personal, something that can actually stretch and shrink depending on what you're doing? It's a huge question, and one that some of the greatest minds in history have wrestled with. To get our heads around this, we're taking a pretty unique approach. We're going to start with these seriously mind-bending theories of modern physics. And then we're going to jump way back and see how these same ideas were being debated thousands of years ago in Jewish philosophy. And trust me, you're going to be surprised by the parallels. All right, first up, physics. For the longest time, our view of time was pretty simple. But then in the early 1900s, one man came along and completely shattered that old, rigid, clockwork model of the universe. See, for centuries, physics was all about Isaac Newton's idea of absolute time. Just picture it, a single, giant cosmic clock ticking away at the exact same rate for everyone everywhere. Simple, right? It makes sense. But then Einstein came along and proposed something radical. He said time isn't absolute at all, it's relative. Your clock and my clock can literally tick at different speeds. So how is that even possible? Well, Einstein had this incredible insight. He realized that space and time aren't two separate things. They're actually woven together into a single four-dimensional fabric he called space-time. Think of it like a giant, stretchy trampoline. Every event that happens isn't just in a place or at a time, it's at a point in space-time. They're totally inseparable. And this leads to a consequence that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction: time dilation. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. Seriously, if you were on a spaceship zipping along near the speed of light, you would age slower than everyone back on Earth. And this isn't just a theory, it's been proven with incredibly precise atomic clocks on jets and satellites. It's real. The implication here is just massive. By weaving time into the fabric of space, Einstein kind of demoted it. Time is no longer the absolute king of the universe. It's just another dimension tangled up with all the others. But here's where the story gets a little more complicated. Just when it seemed like absolute universal time was gone for good, another branch of physics realized, hey, we can't quite get rid of it. So this creates a fascinating tension right inside modern physics. You've got relativistic mechanics, which focuses on fast-moving objects, and there, time is definitely relative and local. But then you have cosmology, the study of the entire universe. And to describe big things like the Big Bang, you need a shared universal world time. So which is it? Is time local or universal? Physics seems to need both. And this isn't some dusty old idea. More recent theories, like one from physicist Moshe Carmeli, have actually brought back a universal cosmological time. In his model, this cosmic clock is measured backward, from today toward that single point of origin, the moment of creation. So even within physics, you have these two ideas living together, a local flexible time and a universal absolute time. Remember that duality. Okay, now let's switch gears completely. We're going to leave the world of physics for a moment and travel way back, because it turns out these exact same questions were being debated for centuries within Jewish philosophy. Check out this fascinating quote from the Midrash, a collection of ancient Jewish teachings. One of the rabbis, talking about the story of creation, suggested something pretty radical: that a temporal order, a sense of before and after, must have existed even before our universe was created. And this kicked off a major philosophical debate. One side, the Midrash view, held that time, and maybe even entire previous worlds, existed before our own creation. But this was challenged by the brilliant 12th century philosopher Maimonides. He argued that time is a property of the universe. You can't have one without the other. For him, time itself was created with the universe. And here it is, our first huge parallel. Almost 1,000 years ago, Maimonides argued that time began with the universe. And what does the modern Big Bang theory say today? The exact same thing, that space and time burst into existence together from a single point. It's pretty amazing. All right, let's dive into a specific branch of Jewish mysticism called Hasidism, because it's here that this idea of two different types of time becomes crystal clear, and the parallels with modern physics are, well, they're truly striking.
So Hasidic philosophy defines two distinct kinds of time. First, there's an absolute, permanently flowing time. This is the big, universal, divine time that governs the evolution of the whole cosmos. The second is measurable and estimable time. This is the local, subjective time of our own individual experience. Sound familiar?
So how do these two different times connect? Hasidic thought offers this beautiful concept called retzo v'shov, which means running and returning. Think of it like taking a deep breath. You breathe out, reaching for something beyond yourself, and then you breathe in, returning to your own body. This constant pulse, this cycle of connecting and separating, is what lets us measure our personal time against the backdrop of the universal. And here it is, the aha moment. Let's just put these two systems side by side. Physics has a universal world time. Hasidism has an absolute flowing time. Physics has local relative time. Hasidism has measurable personal time. Physics needs a cycle to measure time. Hasidism has the cycle of retzo v'shov. I mean, the parallels are just incredible. And this wasn't just some abstract idea. The late Lubavitcher Rebbe, a major Hasidic leader in the 20th century, actually used this framework to address a classic physics problem, the twin paradox. When he was asked about which twin ages less, he suggested that the real answer lies not just in relativity, but in considering their motion relative to an absolute, a universal frame of reference. So what do we make of all this? We've got two profoundly different traditions, taking completely different paths, yet they somehow seem to be arriving at the very same station. Think about it. One tradition uses the tools of math, particle accelerators, and massive telescopes. The other uses ancient texts, deep contemplation, and mystical insight. Yet both of them end up with this remarkably similar two-part picture of time, one giant clock for the whole cosmos, and another personal clock for each of us. What this really suggests, I think, is that our questions about time aren't just scientific questions or religious questions. They are fundamentally human. This drive to understand our place in the universe, to connect our brief lives to something eternal, that's a universal quest. And that leaves us with a final big thought to chew on. If two of our most profound ways of understanding the world, science and spirituality, can independently come up with such similar frameworks to describe time, what does that tell us about the nature of reality itself? And what other truths might they both be pointing towards?